If I say, well, I'm not really sure in my item table, is it item number? Right? Nope, I don't have anything that's item number. If I just type in NO period, then I can find that I've got a number. One thing you can always do is select that field, drop this down, and you can see some sample values. Do these look like my item numbers, or do they look like something else? These look like my item numbers. I know I chose the correct field. Just because I drop that down doesn't mean I have to choose one. Go back, I select my E9. All right. So quantity consumed. We were using our sum function. And we were going to our item ledger entry in this case. And we want our quantity. And we had 3 filters. The first one, we need to call back to our item number. And in our item ledger entry table, it's item number. So right, I could come in and say, well, it was number in the other one. I can look for it and say, well, I've got item number. Or I can reference my little sheet. If I've done all the pre-development work, I can look at my sheet and say, oh, the item in item ledger entry is item number. So that's one of the reasons why we went through that little process of, let me go ahead and do this, come back to that. When we said, okay, well, that salesperson code, we're going to build it off the customer ledger entry and that salesperson code, but we're going to need to be able to reference that code as a filter. So I don't have to then try and figure out on the fly what that value is. And that's one of the reasons why I went through and would build something like this. Now, it's up to you whether you want to take the time to do that or not, or you just want to hunt and peck, and that's totally fine as well. I do that with clients. I don't know their database. I'm on the clock. Do you know what it is? No. Okay, well, I'm going to try date. No. Posting? No. This? Nope. Okay. So I'm just hunting and pecking and saying, which one is it? I don't always have the luxury of being able to build this on the fly. I have to do it just, let's go, let's do it. But if you have the time to do that, it is very helpful. And we also need our 2 filters. We needed the, I actually don't remember, what was it, date? Our posting date, was this September?
Yep.
Okay, 09, 01, 08, 09, 30, 08. And the last one was entry type?
Consumption.
Consumption. And so everybody should have gotten negative numbers all around 46, 48, 36, 26.
Do you find it helpful for whenever you're trying to retrieve that quantity consumed, or maybe that number, that you can just copy that item number over to the quantity consumed, change your row to sum, and then add in your reference back to
If that's going to work for you, yeah, I could take this and simply say, okay, I'm going to paste that in there, and then go through and have to modify this. Just don't forget to change that rows.
Yeah, rows to sum, and then you can add in your...
Yeah, so
then you're not having to type those extras in every time.
exactly. So that's one way you can get around that, but you just have to remember to add and go back and say, oh, you know what, I need to add that item number. So if that works for you and remember all that, fantastic. In fact, that actually leads me, whoops, item number, why do I have a debug? Let's see. Item number is not numeric.
You didn't change all those first.
Did I not change this?
Okay.
That should be right.
But you're not looking, yeah, but you're not looking for item number anymore.
Oh, am I
We
not?
were looking for quantity consumed.
Oh, that's why. Well, I still need to call back to
Yeah,
that.
you need to call
Yeah,
back.
but-
Yeah. Oh, here, this is
Here,
what you're talking about.
yes.
Yes. Thank you. See? That's why I don't do it that way, because I will forget what it is I'm after. So, whatever. You're driving me crazy.
Sorry.
I get that error message then.
So,
Okay. So before I open that up, I specifically said, feel free to do it that way, just don't forget to change the rows, and here's why. One of the reasons why. Because I see this with new report writers from time to time. Okay, well, I need to go to a list of my customers that start with the letter A, and that's going to break too. So let's save this, desktop, save. And we will close all that out. So this was book 5. So I see people do this from time to time. I've got my list of customers that start with the letter A. Great. Well, now I need that same list, except I need them to start with the letter B. So I'm just going to copy that formula over and grab that and change this to B. Seems like it's going to work. I hit refresh, and what I end up getting is every combination of those two values. So Afrofield with each of my B companies, Antarctic Copy with each of my Bs, and Auto House with each of my Bs. Not really what I was after. Imagine if I had 1,000 A's and 1,000 B's. I'm now returning 1,000,000 records. It's 1,000,000 combinations, 1,000 times 1,000. So you got to be really careful of that, because eventually this is going to run out of memory. So just watch out for that. If you've got a rows, don't put another rows on it. I have had, in one instance, had to do a rows with a rows. In fact, I had to do rows 7 times on one row, because they needed every combination of 7 different values from 7 different tables, and that report took forever to run.
Is it possible to do a rows formula and then right below it a rows formula, because it'll only insert, so you
Exactly.
can do A's and then B's?
Exactly. So yeah, the better way to do that would be, here's my function to go with, let's fix it. Alright. Now it's gone. And it's just completely gone. So the better way to do that, here we go, it would have been to simply say, okay, well, I'm going to copy this down and change this to B. Right. And when I do that, in fact, it actually looks like one list now, even though this is my replicated region and this is my replicated region. So, perfectly acceptable to do that, and we're going to do that when we do our summary, our grouping reports. Okay. So let's come back to my summary list here. And there we go, now we're back to normal. So let's kind of just talk about the rest of these so we can move on to our data dump. As we look at exercise number 2, to get the name, first sum, count unique. First. Right, we're on exercise 2. So we're going to go to the customer table, give me the name, reference back to that number. Phone number is going to be the same thing, right? Now our total outstanding invoices. Let's kind of do that one real quick. So what do we have here? So we've got a sum. Where are we going to? Customer ledger entry. And what are we summing up?
The remaining amount.
Remaining amount with a $sign or the LCY. Now what filters do we have to apply to this?
Document type.
Alright, so we'll do our document type in the back. Document type of
Invoice.
invoice. I heard customer number. Call back to that value there. E7 in mind. What else do we have?
Remaining amount.
Remaining amount.
Is not equal to 0 or greater than 0.
Now, here's something interesting. We got one more filter, right? What was it?
It is.
No, we didn't. Okay. I thought there was a date for some reason in this one. Now, here's an interesting one. If I weed out all of the remaining amounts that are not equal to 0, what happens if I include those ones that are 0? Nothing. It's the exact same number. This is one of those instances where I'm creating a filter that doesn't really do anything. Right? If I take 100 and I add 0 to it, I still get 0. I still would add that just for consistency's sake. So, sometimes you're going to come across that and go, why do I need to add that? I've had people ask that, why do we need to add that? Because we said so. You apply it to this one, you got to do it to this one. Just do it. That way you don't get in that habit of, maybe I don't need to do it for this one. Maybe I shouldn't, or, you know. So we have all our remaining amounts. I didn't do the first because those are pretty easy. So let's talk about our salesperson code here. We know how to get their percent. Say first, we're going to go to that salesperson purchaser table. We're going to bring back that commission percent. And we're not going to fall into the trap. We're going to choose code. We're going to say when the code is equal to that. percent. Okay. What else do we need to get the total sales? So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. I'm going to paste it over here because we want all those same filters. Make sure I'm selecting the right cell. Now I want to bring back the sum of the amounts. The document type is invoice or credit memo. Posting date is that range, and in this table, it's the salesperson code. So you go back and forth. Okay. Okay. So, I'm sure some of you realize as you did this, in order to get that commission amount, we just take, well, I'm going to take that sum, I'm going to multiply it by their commission rate. And I'm sure everybody got the wrong answer at first.
Divided by 100 or something?
Right, so there's two ways we can go about doing this. We could take this sum and divide it by 100. Right? That would give me my value. Or if I wanted to change that, right, it pulls this back as a whole number. It's 5, not 5%. Just like I added that divided by 100 there, I can go to this NL function. After that, divide by 100. 0.05. So it works like any other Excel function. I can add on other information to it. Now, of course, I can take this and actually even change this to 8%. And my function still works properly. So you can go about it two different ways, however you want to do it. I think it looks a little bit nicer to have the 5% there, because that's really what it's showing, rather than just 5 and then divided. Does anybody want to go over exercise number 4? They're essentially the same, except one uses count, one uses count unique. In that count unique, we do have to add a specific field to it.
What is the specific field?
Well, what is it we want to count?
Posting days.
Posting date. Count the number of posting dates that occurred. Right. You might have 20 transactions that posted on that one day, but you still only want to count it at one time. So that's summary lists. We use summary lists when we need to create a list of things from a non-unique field. And then we can use our sums, our counts, our count uniques, firsts, all those things to call back. The other type of list we have is a data dump. Okay? We'll talk about this for the remainder of the day. If we get up down a little bit early, you guys can leave a little bit early.
Was it all zeros?
It's 4:05, I think.
Was it all those zeros?
So the data dump, it starts on page 318, but we're going to start on page 319 where the definition is. A data dump list creates a list by dumping a set of the table's records into the worksheet. Essentially what it's going to do is look at a table in the database and mimic it in our report. So what that means is it's going to look at it and bring back records. Instead of bringing back unique values, it's going to pull back every record that matches my criteria. So in our previous example, we had the summary list, and we said we want to create a list of customers from our customer ledger entry table. That was a non-unique field. Here I want to create a list of customers. That's all I want. Well, I can go to my customer table, dump out the records from that table. Each record represents a customer. Voila, I'm done. Well, it's not quite that easy, but it's about that easy. Okay. So you have to think about this when you start building your reports. Do I need to create a list from a non-unique field? A lot of times this is a list of transactions, a list of accounts that had a transaction, a list of salespeople that had a sale. Data dumps are more typically going to be transactions. I want to see every commissionable transaction. I want to see every GL transaction. I see data dumps more often when it comes to transactions, but that's not always the case. In this instance, I want to create a list of customers. I can just go to my customer table, dump out those records, and voila. Now, people ask, couldn't I just do a summary list from that? Yes, but you're creating a unique list from a unique list, and you're making JET work a little bit harder to do that. So your report will run a little bit slower. It's a two-step process. just like with our data dump, or our summary list, the first thing we had to do is create a list of something. When we do our data dump, we're going to create a list of records. Then we are going to identify which fields within that record do we want to display. So I'm going to use my rows replicator still. I tell it what customer what table I want it to go to, and then apply my filters. Here's where data dumps become much easier. Now that I've got my records, all of my filtering is done, right? I'm only pulling back the records that meet my criteria. Well, look at this record and bring me back the number. Look at this record and bring me back the name. Look at this record, bring me back the city. I'm using my NF, my new field. Look at this record and bring me back some specific piece of information. Just like my summary list train, I still got to tie it to the train engine here. So I'm still calling back to my record list each time, but it's far more compact. And I typically don't have to worry about any filtering in any of my NF statements.